In this game, you play as a character whose name is Aiden. You came to this city looking for your lost sister, separated at a very young age. And for the people who haven't played this game, I'm not going to give away too many spoilers. That is kind of really all I can give away. You are here looking for your sister in this zombie apocalyptic world. The whole point of Dying Light is the strain of the virus is at its most powerful during the night. If you are in the darkness for too long and you are infected, you run a very high chance of fully turning into a viral. Whether it be the simple, basic version zombie, a viral itself, or something as terrifying as a volatile that's sitting right outside that wall. In Dying Light 1, the story is pretty straightforward. You are a hired mercenary for a company known as the GRD. They created a virus, which is what the zombies are. They are the strain of virus that was created in a lab. You are a mercenary for hire who goes by the name of Kyle Crane. You're there to acquire the main sample of the virus so the GRD can, quote, create a cure. A little bit into the game, you begin to find out the secrets as to why the GRD sent you there, and your character basically rebels. Without actually giving away too many of the plot points for any of the very few random souls out there who have not played Dying Light 1, that is the basic story. In Dying Light 2, the cure had been synthesized. It was created in Haran, I believe. I think it actually says that in the intro video, that a cure was synthesized in Haran. Decided to keep tinkering with the virus, to study it, so to say. The virus breaks out a second time, now evolving because of the constant tests it's put under. So the cure no longer works. Yeah, the cure no longer works, and the world is basically thrown into a zombie apocalypse, with very few human civilizations still existing. We are now at this new city, which is said to be one of the last safe havens. The difficulty basically affects the overall changes of the game experience itself, adjusting the enemy health values and the damage that they do, but the one thing it does not mention is it also adjusts resources. On easy and normal, I believe resources are always the same. When you switch the game to hard mode, I believe the resources are literally like they're cut in half. You only get access to half of the stuff. You only find some of it out in the world, and vendors have less. Hard mode is for the veteran players, as obviously stated. When you select hard mode at the front screen, it gives you a prompt telling you like the summary of each mode. Easy is like baby mode, normal is normal, and hard is for the veteran players. I only switched it to hard because I didn't realize I was playing it on hard, and this game is meant to be a horror game, so I kind of want it to be brutal and terrifying. If you want a game that's supposed to be a survival horror game, put it on the hardest mode. Yes, it's going to be very frustrating at some points, and if you're a casual gamer, you don't have to do it. But if you're a hardcore gamer, or if you just like a challenge, go for it. If it halves your resources, that means you have to use your brain a little more often. Like, do I use this weapon to destroy that zombie and maybe get a couple of bolts, or do I preserve my weapon for an even greater threat later on? Some people will argue that you don't have to do that, but that's just my mind thinking.
Well, got an idea.
There are 3 factions that I actively know about. They might be the only ones. There might be more. This game has had a lot of updates since its actual release day, but when I played it on release, there were only 3. You have your survivors. That I think that is their actual name, because when I looked at it in the map, it's this. That says what their camp is, the Survivors Camp. The Survivors, kind of consider them your everyday Joe, just trying to survive in the apocalypse. They're a little bit more ragtag. They don't have, like, the best weapons. They're survivors, kind of like their name actually says. They scrounge for resources. They run around. They survive the nights. We'll talk about that one later. The main three factions are the Survivors, the Peacekeepers, and then there's the third one, which since I don't remember their name, I am going to call them the Goons. They are the faction that works for the main antagonist in the series. The fourth hidden faction that I was talking about, it's not really hidden if you know the story of the game. There is a faction known as the Night Runners. They are people who go out in the night and gather resources, and they take on more dangerous missions. Resources are not quite that easy to get in the day when everybody is running around, and during the night, when you have all the virals leaving the nests, the Night Runners typically go into these nests and get the resources out of there. This is a game, in my own opinion, that doesn't really drive its main focus from the story. The replayability comes from the gameplay itself. The story is fleshed out where you do make decisions. They do kind of affect the world, but not in the way you would think. Replayability is coming from the parkour, the combat, and the little RPG system that the game has. Also, this game has way more replayability when you have a friend to play it with. This game is incredibly fun when you're playing it with a friend, because you could have a friend who's really good at combat, but his parkour could be, like, terrible. You could have a friend who is really good at parkour, like vice versa. In my own personal opinion, it differs from person to person, but in my opinion, replayability is high on my list for this. That little skull icon you see right below the purple bar that says UV light. Dying Light 2 has a mechanic that Dying Light 1 did not have. You are infected in Dying Light 2 just as badly as in Dying Light 1. Thing is, though, being out in the darkness in Dying Light 2 actually progresses the virus in this game. So, unless you're standing underneath a UV light, unless you're standing under one, that bar starts draining. When that bar hits 0, you get, like, I think it's 15 more seconds to absolutely find a place of safety, or you're going to die because you turn into a zombie. Zombies are technically considered virals. They are the lowest form of viral. It goes, if I remember correctly, depending on how the strain mutates, it goes zombie, then it typically goes into viral. That is the most common strain of mutation. After that, it goes, depending on, like, certain aspects of the human itself, people can mutate into things like the volatiles, the chargers, the spitters. The mutation has many strains.
Whoever killed him must have been very strong.
The more you fight against enemies, the more zombies you kill, humans, etc., you gain points. If I remember correctly, I think this one is pretty set. You'll get more points for doing more combat. More brutal kills, I believe, will get you more points. Like if I decapitate a zombie, I think I get more points from doing that than just normally killing a zombie. Parkour is probably my favorite tree to mess around with, because in combat, the tree basically works, you get these perks, and they all pertain to combat. Very first combat perk you get is a staggering kind of move. When, as the little video that's playing right there shows, when you perfectly block an attack, you can jump off of that enemy and do a drop kick on another enemy that's in sight. And it, like, stuns them. By stuns, I mean it knocks them over. And I do think it sometimes straight up kills. I think it depends on what you hit their body into. Then the tech tree starts to kind of divulge into two directions. You've got things like enhancing your dodges. Dodge at a perfect moment, staggers an enemy. Then it goes into rank 2. Rank 2 gives you, like, the ability to do kind of what I did to that one viral earlier. When an enemy comes at me, if I hit the X button before they actually hit me, then I can't grab them and throw them. But if I manage to hit the button before they hit me, my character will grab them and throw them. The final rank of that just makes them go farther when I do that. It's a very simplified tech tree, but it works. As for parkour, this is probably one of my more favorite ones to level up. For parkour tree, the parkour tree, I should say more correctly, is simply leveled up by doing what I almost always do in this game. Running around, performing actions like jumping or climbing and sliding. The more advanced the moves you do, the more XP you get. Parkour is my favorite one between the two. In this game, I like being like water. I like to be able to interact with the environment really well. Parkour is basically your body's physical strength in terms of conditioning. So think of it like from a D&D perspective. This is your athletics and your constitution. As to where combat is your strength and kind of dexterity. This parkour system is kind of what Dying Light is very well known for. Somebody, I don't remember who it was who said this joke, but somebody basically said, hey, let's take Dead Island and make it have a baby with Mirror's Edge to give it the parkour. And Dead Island was really well known for their combat. So basically, they took Dead Island and Mirror's Edge, two different games, and kind of merged it all together. Now we've got zombie killing parkour crazy people running around. Guns had become scarce because ammo had become scarce. And it became to the point where technically all the ammo in the world had been assumedly used up, so nobody bothered to use guns anymore. But because of a recent update and a mission that actually plays into the reason why the update was put into this game, guns are back. Somebody found a vault that was filled with guns. I have not done the mission yet. I have spoiled myself, so I can be booed for this later. Guns were discovered in a vault with ammo, and obviously from a gameplay perspective, they decided to throw ammo into the world so you have a reason to actually use these weapons. And as a tiny bit of a thank you, they even gave us a gun to use. Or more as an apology, I guess, because players were not happy that they took guns out of this game. I mean, who has fun killing zombies with improvised tools? I know I sure do. Is it still fun to blast a zombie's head off with a shotgun? In simple words, you cannot beat the classic. Ultimate weapon is still the shotgun. That is a cure to every infection. In terms of value? Oh yeah, it's worth it. It definitely felt worth it to me, especially when I heard they were making a Dying Light 2 after Dying Light 1. I mean, I ain't gonna lie, I got hyped probably like any other fanboy out there. You could maybe justify my my purchase and my concerns to the value of it a little bit biased, but I do believe it's worth it. In terms of restoring health, I just did it on my screen. Restoring health isn't hard if you're willing to go out and find the resources, but if you're not willing to do it, then you're going to have to manage your health a little bit more. I can kind of get away with it a little bit because I have built my resources up quite a bit. It's not hard to make a bandage to heal yourself, and if you're feeling kind of daring, you can go to military outpost areas where there are more zombies, and in very rare situations, there are none. Very rare, though. But you can go to outposts and get, like, military-style medkits, which would restore your health back to full in one go, as to opposed to my bandages, which I have ranked up, restoring chunks of my health. In terms of resource management, well, you have different tiers of resources. You have common resources, which are easy to find everywhere. You have uncommon, which is like in the shade of a green. And then you have rare, which is in the shade of a blue. And then epic, which is the shade of purple. And then legendary, which is the shade of orange. Resources are pretty easy to find as long as you're willing to look around and scavenge. And as you have commented to me in the past on other games, I am very methodical in the way I look around through things. So for me, resource management is not hard because I will search every nook and cranny to find stuff. If you're willing to do that, resources will be relatively easy to manage. Resource management is all based on the player's mindset. Stating again, I'm very methodical in the way that I search for resources. I will search every nook and cranny. So for me, it's easy to manage because I'm willing to put the little bit of effort into looking for it.